How often do we read the Old Testament and we look at Israel and we say, how could they be so foolish? And yet here we see a church, a doctrinally sound church, doing the exact same thing, leading the first love. And you may wonder about that. Okay, wait, how can a church be faithful in doctrine? How can a church be orthodox and be cold in its love for the Lord? How can they leave off their worship of the Lord? It's possible. It's very possible. Why? Because other matters become more important than the worship of the Lord in our lives. For instance, having right doctrine can become more important than the Lord of that doctrine. Just knowing, okay, we are the ones with the right doctrine. We can become puffed up with that knowledge, can't we? And become full of ourselves. And take pride in that. And we say prayers to the Lord because that's what we do. But at some point, even though our lips sing praises and speak to the Lord, our hearts are far from Him. And we are talking about the things of God every day and not worshiping God. There are many examples of this in Scripture. Imagine Judas Iscariot, for instance, who walked with the Lord, literally walked with the Lord on a daily basis, literally is in ministry, spreading His message out there, and is at the same time worshiping himself. You say, yeah, well, he was a thief. Okay, the other disciples then. The Lord, as He's about to be betrayed, and the Lord, as He is grieving because He's about to be crucified, He sits down to speak to the disciples, and what are the disciples discussing amongst themselves? Who's greatest in the kingdom? Where are their hearts? With themselves. Even being in Scripture every day, we can fail to love the Lord of Scripture. And we need to be aware of that. We could see this in other areas of our lives. We could see this in how we love our neighbors, or should I say, as we begin to lose our love for neighbor. The love of God and neighbor are inseparable. 1 John 4:20 says. And so that it may be that the Ephesians grew ungracious with each other. They began to have infighting. They began to have division inside the church as they began to argue over inconsequential matters. I think it should be this. I think it should be this. Well, I think you're a heretic. No, I think you're a heretic. Wait a minute, really? You know, there's a thin line between practicing discernment and becoming a heresy hunter. Christians must know where that line is so we can walk it. We can't be a sound church and say, okay, we're not going to walk it at all. We're going to hold theology. I heard one pastor put it this way once. We're going to hold our theology with an open hand. Okay, no, that's the wrong approach. That's the wrong approach. But on the other hand, trying to sniff out problems in everyone else's theology is also a wrong approach.